Hello, and welcome to the Bianca Williams podcast. I am your host, Bianca Williams. If you are new here, welcome, welcome, welcome. Go ahead and subscribe because we have a lot of amazing things for you. If you have been here before, welcome back. Get comfortable because we're going to get into some new things. Just for everybody to know, this is a podcast that gets into self growth. It is sharing journeys, wisdom, all of the above. And today we are in for a treat because we have a very special guest, somebody who goes way back. Almost, I want to say it's been like 25, almost 30 years for us. So really, really excited to welcome a friend of mine, Devonta White. Devonta is a social media expert, an influencer, all of the above. He has been one of those people who I would consider a mentor or a leader just all the way back to just grade school years. Always just kind of had this drive that is magnetic, that's attractive. And so I'm really, really honored to be able to have this conversation with you today. But I want to ask you, share with the people what you have going on in your life right now, what's coming up for you, Devonta.
Thank you so much, Bianca. It's such a pleasure to be here. We do go back like a long time, which is insanely crazy. Currently have just like working right now is the biggest thing and like living a soft life at the moment as I come into this like new era. But I'm a senior manager at a tech company here in New York City, born and raised in Detroit, Michigan, lived and went to school in Nashville at TSU and then also went to school and graduated from Florida A&M University, which is my pride and joy, just graduating from college. And so I've been here in New York City for about 12 years, which is insanely crazy to me, and I love every bit of it. Yeah, I'm just really working and in the house, starting to do like home renovation products, need to go back and do that one again. I'm like,
Okay.
home, what? Yeah, I'm just here working and doing home renovation projects, getting ready and prepping to get married next year, which is insanely crazy,
My
and
God.
doing like a small wedding because outside is expensive, weddings is expensive, and I believe that we are happy just doing something small with like family and close friends, and we don't have anything to like prove to anybody,
Mhm.
and we take a trip and enjoy it. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's pretty much my life at the moment. It's pretty boring, but I'm happy.
Yeah. I hear you. And boring to me is good. Boring means there is no drama, there's no problems. I'm all for that. And like we said, we go so far back, and you've had such an incredible journey. It's actually been really, really amazing watching your life in New York, some of the adventures you've been able to have, just your outlook on life. And so I'm glad we're going to have this conversation today. We are actually going to get into really, really taking charge of your happiness, being in control of your life, really, kind of taking the steering wheel and being able to say, life is here, but I don't have to just let life happen. Let's be active in creating a life we want. And so
Yeah.
um considering all of the amazing things you've been able to do and just the just role you have been on and the role you are headed to, can you share a little bit about your background and what just initially sparked this journey towards you being able to take charge of your happiness and your life?
Yeah, great question. So I was born in Detroit to a Jamaican mother and African American father. And I don't know when it was that I knew that I always wanted to go to college, but I had an aunt who really instilled like these educational values in me. And
Mhm.
knew as a black man that in order to do anything that I wanted to do, I was going to have to go to college. At that time, I was like really into computers. I had like an old school compact computer, and I was like, "Oh, I can be a computer engineer." And so my thought was that I was going to go to the University of Michigan and study computer engineering. Before high school, I did like DAPSAP, Detroit Area Pre-Engineering College Program, and took some courses, did some robotics, and I was like, oh, this is really cool. I was with all these amazing, smart black students
Yeah.
that I went on to go to school with. And as I was going through high school, I was like wanting to be my best self and be ambitious. And I originally ended up going to like Cas Tech my ninth grade year, and that was not the best year. I think I had just got all these freedoms,
Mhm.
and my mom had like let the leash go, and I just went like wild, and I was not as focused as I needed to be. And so I had got some like not so good grades, and my mom was like, "You go into your neighborhood high school." And I was like, neighborhood high school? Like, no, like mom, I cry because I was like really scared to go to like the neighborhood high school, even though I went to like middle school in the neighborhood. I was like, I did not want to go to Pershing, which was like on the Detroit East Side. And
Mhm.
so I was able to get into Osborne because my aunt knew somebody who worked on the staff there. So I ended up going to Osborne and got in the marching band and fell in love with this like really small family of people. And I really knew that from that point on, I wanted to make sure that I was on the best path. And when I was exposed to like marching band and marching band culture, and our band director, Mr. Smith, took us down south, I was like, oh, I'm going to a black college. I really didn't know much about black colleges. Before that time, like University of Michigan was like my top choice. And we started going to all these different schools. And then one school really popped out for me. I'm not sure why, and that was Florida A&M University. I was like really gun ho on going, and then I found out like how much tuition costs, and I was like, never mind. And so during that time in school, I was getting pretty good grades. I was like a 3.3 to 3.5. I could have probably did a lot better, but I was like just in the band doing what I love. And like schoolwork came so easy to me that I got kind of bored because I wasn't being challenged. And I can't remember when it was. I had took a trip to Tennessee State University before actually going there. And I was like, I saw the campus and I was like, this is a beautiful campus. I'm going here. And so ended up after a long battle with my like dad and mom about like how we were going to finance it. Went to Tennessee State. And before that, like I had took the ASVAL in high school, and like Army, Navy, Air Force recruiters were like knocking on my door. I was like, it's not for me. It is
Uh,
just not for me. I wanted to go to school. And
yeah.
so got to Tennessee State and started majoring in computer science. Did not work out for me.
I did not know
Abs-
that.
I was like, all of this math, no. That was just like not my strong suit. I loved English, I loved history, I loved music, and I was like, this is like not my forte. And so I ended up during my like freshman year changing to like early elementary education for like a semester. And I was like, yeah, this is not going to work. I really didn't know what I wanted to do in college. And it
Right.
was really hard to figure that out. And so some of the challenges that I had in college is one that it was really expensive. Like out of state tuition was like triple the amount of in-state tuition, and I didn't have like, being from Michigan and going to Tennessee, I just had to pay that money. And I also realized that I was not mentally and really mentally ready for college in the way that I thought I was, just because like Detroit public schools really didn't give you all the tools you needed to really make that
Mhm.
next step. And dealing with some like mental health issues like at a young age, trying to still figure yourself out, trying to figure out
Yeah.
how to be on your own was really, really, really tough. So while I was at Tennessee
Mhm.
State, I took a step back and came back home to Detroit for a little bit to reset because I was like, okay, I need to figure out like how to do this in the best way that makes sense because I can't make it through. I can't pay this money. I'm not mentally prepared. And so went back, got a little bit grounded, did some work while I was in Detroit. And my father was living in Florida at the time, and they really wanted to go to Florida
Mhm.
A&M University. I end up getting in-state tuition because my father was there. And so that was really
Wow.
like the next reiteration of my life where I was like, okay, I have a second chance to really do this. And the same issues kind of followed me there to Florida. And it was challenging being in school and being away and really learning how to deal with things on your own amongst
Mhm.
like dealing with like mental health issues. And so at that time, I would have to say like college was really one of my like lowest yet highest points in life. Lowest because like my mental health and financially, I just, when you don't come from money, you have to figure out how to pay for your expenses. Like you're not living on campus. Trying to find a job. And in Tallahassee, Florida, like I was working at the mall making like 750 uh
Right.
an hour and not working that many hours. So I was like, how am I paying for things? So during my time in college, while I appreciate all the experiences I've had, I appreciate all the people I've met, especially at TSU. If I could go back, TSU, I really met some people who helped shape me to this day. A lot of them were older. They were seniors while I was a freshman, and they really showed me the ropes and really gave me some of the know-how that I have now. And then when I got to FAMU, the first 2 years I think were really great. And as I was getting like restless, I was like, I'm really, really ready to go. But I was like, I can't leave here without my degree. During that time at FAMU, I started studying business and I absolutely fell in love with marketing. Not the finance person part of it so much, but marketing was, I took sports marketing and I was like, marketing is what I want to do. And so I aced all of my like marketing and business classes that I had. And I was like, okay, what's the next steps? And I really didn't know where I was going to go after that. I thought once I get my degree, I was going to go and live in Atlanta, be a black professional. And things didn't really work out like that. I got the opportunity to move to New York just really based off of a connection that I had with somebody my uncle worked for previously. And so I started my career at Ralph Lauren and kind of really just grew it from there. Once I got to New York, that is when my life really started to change. I had my degree. I was gun ho on figuring out what I want to do in my life. And so while I've been in here, I've been just crafting my own narrative and making sure that I am up to embrace change and be comfortable in everything that I'm doing.
Yeah. Wow. Incredible. One thing I really, really appreciate about your story, and thank you so much for sharing this, is how you describe the moving through, like the school years and then realizing like there's some parts of me that just isn't at a mature level to be able to handle these next steps and how hard college is. Because I think a lot of times people think that there's this misconception that you go to college and then life just gets better.
Yeah.
In reality, it actually gets worse before it gets better because you're learning so much at once, right? Like you're learning how to be an adult. You're
Hmm.
learning how to, handle responsibilities. You're learning how to plan for your future and all of the things that come along with that. And you're hit with roadblock after roadblock after roadblock. And a lot of people, those ages, they just kind of give up because it's just like, I don't even
Yeah.
know. Also appreciate you saying, I didn't know what I wanted to do because I feel like that's a lot of people's journey. I feel like it's a blessing and a gift if you can say, absolutely know what I wanted to do since I was 4 years old and I've stuck to that career path for the rest of my life. I think that's a gift because I never could say I knew what I wanted to do forever.
Yeah.
At that age, I said I had chemical engineer in high school because it sounded good, but and I
Same.
liked math. But in reality, when I got into college, I went into music for a minute. And one day I'm gonna explain why I never actually pursued music full time as a full career, even though I love music. I would always just say music saved
Yeah.
my life, all of these different things. But it meant something different to me. So even though I was in that path, deep in that path, people knew that didn't end up being the place I landed. I also went into elementary education and immediately realized that nope, this is not for me.
I don't want to teach nobody kids.
No, I don't want to deal with the school system, classroom management, none of that stuff.
I
So I
can
was like,
mentor, but I can't teach,
yeah,
especially this new generation
especially the Gen Z. No,
and
because they
Gen
got
Alpha.
okay, they have different kind of motivations, and we kind of
Yeah,
get this blend of we do have some of the new generation in us, but we also have the old generations, and so we have something to
exactly.
connect to. And I feel like there's a different kind of detachment for that generation that doesn't connect at all to those previous generations. And so
Yeah.
you almost have to recreate the map for them so
They
you can
think they're the first
understand.
to do stuff. And now I see what my parents were saying, like, wait till you get older, and
Yes.
it comes,
Yep.
because you learn so many lessons, and then you finally don't know when it just clicks for you. You're
Yeah.
like, oh my God, I'm turning into my mom.
All right. Yeah. I do feel like there's this reality of, oh, I got to experience this and now I get it. That is so important for growth and learning. And so I'm glad that we can pay attention to those lessons and realize, you know what? They were right in some
Exactly.
ways, right?
I'm a first generation college student. And
Same.
so I did not have anyone to give me the tools to succeed. I really had to
Facts.
learn and figure that out. And through trial and a lot of tribulations, I did. And I'm so glad that I took that step and stuck to it, even if it took me a long time to get
Yeah.
there. At least it feels like long to me. Like I graduated at 26 and I was like watching my friends graduate and get
Right.
into their careers. And I was so envious because I was like, I want to do that. And I just
Yeah.
like the things that were happening didn't really allow me to do it in a
Yeah.
timely fashion. I appreciate, I look back and appreciate everything that I went through because it made me stronger for my future.
Hmm.
Quite honestly, like I don't know if I would still be in New York if I didn't have the experiences I had in college early,
Yeah.
because for me to have them here in New York would probably have been a like mental meltdown for me because things are magnified by
Hmm.
20 times here
Yes.
in comparison to being in a little small college town,
Yes.
and that was what God set me up and was like, you need to go through this, you need to go through that before you get to where you're supposed to be. And I was like, thank you, because you just don't know like what could happen,
Yeah.
if I would have like been here, when I at 22, at 23.
Yes. I 100% agree with you. I feel like college provides like this shelter to adulthood in a sense. Like
Hmm.
you're learning all of this, but the mistakes you make in college, you get protected from the harsh reality of if you were not in that bubble of, okay, you're an adult, but with this kind of covering. Navigating, oh, I didn't turn in this paper on time or this form on time, and it could be the difference between you getting kicked out or you failing the class and having that grace. Because in the real world, there almost is no grace, right? Like you don't
Yeah.
turn in something on time or you miss a deadline, it's it. In college, you do have those moments where you just got to deal with it.
Yeah.
But I
And
feel like there's like some padding to it, so you can kind of learn the lesson if you choose to. So
yeah,
I like that.
and I
Okay,
and I
yeah.
failed college and I failed classes in college. Did I learn from it? I don't know. But I, a lot, but I really like got through it and really tried to persevere through all the things that I was going through.
It's funny you say that. I got an F in one class in college. I
Seriously.
had classes I had to retake because I didn't like my grade or maybe I dropped it too soon or something. I had an F in one class in college. You want to know what that? I want to ask you to guess what class that was that I got an F in.
I'm trying
Then
to
think
think.
about what I do.
Uh, like behavioral psychology.
I got an F in psychology the very first time I took it. The only class in college that I ever failed was psychology.
I took
And
I
then,
I took psychology in class, and actually I didn't do anything the whole semester. We had to do a presentation at the end of the semester. This was at Tennessee State at the downtown campus. Had a black professor and did my final presentation, and professor's jaw dropped. He was I was gonna fail you, but I'll give you a B because your presentation was so great, but I have not heard you speak the entire semester.
wow.
And he was like, you just like did an amazing job. I like do well under pressure. I
Yeah.
do well with presentations.
Yeah.
I'm still continuing like my public speaking.
Mhm.
training. I get nervous. Some people don't see that side of me, but internally all these
Yeah.
wheels are like spinning. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, oh my God, I didn't do great. I didn't do great. And they were like, you were awesome. I'm like,
Yeah.
stop lying.
I learned that those are good nerves though, because I had a debilitating and like paralyzing fear to presentations that happened that
Yeah,
started way back in high school and went through college, and then by grad school I really started working on it. And by the time I got into my career and I actually did have to start doing, like, you got to do day long trainings and all of this kind of stuff. I had this every time I stand up, it's going to be like that anxiety, that shaking, all of that stuff. The good anxiety with that is I care about my performance enough to not want to just mess this up, not want to
yeah.
look bad, not want to sound stupid, all of those kind of things. And it's always a little bit at the beginning, and as you kind of keep going into it, it like comes down some.
It
I
just
heard
like
that's good
ramps.
anxiety though.
Yeah. Okay. That's good to know.
Yeah. Because if you didn't go on the stage with any anxiety, you don't have anything holding you back from, doing whatever just pops in your mind. And some stuff, we look at stuff, we see you're in presentation mode. I don't know about you, but you see everything, you
Oh,
kind of hear certain things that people don't know you can hear. And so if I didn't have something stopping me, right? I don't know what I might say. And so
yeah.
that anxiety kind of helps you in performance mode to say, I want to have a great performance. I want to come out of this with good reviews, whatever that is. So I'm like, okay, I'll take that.
I love that.
Um, Considering, oh my gosh, this incredible journey. You talk about how like one day it just blossomed, right? You went through all that you went through, you learned the lessons you needed to learn, everything, kind of worked out in a sense. You didn't know, you just knew that God must be doing something magical because right now I can't see it, but as you grew and as you kind of lived life, it did become clear. What were some of the obstacles that you faced and how did you overcome them?
So I talked a little bit about this earlier. Really, health was insanely crazy during college. I was battling a lot of things. I was struggling to figure out who I was. I was struggling with my identity. I was struggling with depression because I didn't have like the financial resources to be able to just like live. And when you don't have like financial stability, that can wreak havoc on your mental system. My mom was not able to provide me with the monetary resources that I needed. And she was like, listen, like, I wish you best of luck, but I just don't have it to help. She had my little brother at home. She had a house that she needed to take care of, and she had her own responsibilities and bills. And so she was like, if this is something that you want to do, go for it. I can help you so much, but not to, that extent that I really needed. And I'm appreciative of my uncle who took off some of that weight, as far as like schooling, but like everyday stuff. I was like, my lights, I don't know how many times, maybe like three or four, I needed to pay my like $110 light bill. And baby, that thing was off for
Yeah.
like a
Oh my
day or
God.
two until I could like call a aunt or somebody to like pay it online for me. Yeah, but the biggest struggle was mental health. And I was like, I spoke to like a school therapist at the time. I don't think I was mentally ready to really hear everything that they were saying. I was not
Hmm.
like developed enough to really understand what I needed to understand at that moment. So that was like really stressful. And I think once I got out of the haze of college, everything just kind of like opened up and poured out because I was like, I have this piece of paper. What do I need to do next? And things started to like line up, and everything wasn't always like perfect, but I knew that I needed to make sure that I had to like stay on top of my toes, always be learning like new skills, always thinking about things differently. And when you think differently from your like peers, like you become like this outlier. And so having that attention on me that I'm a little bit different in all different types of aspect of life is hard because people like, oh, you think
Hmm.
you're this, you think you're that. I'm like, no, I'm just like really trying to be myself. And so a lot of people end up conforming to what other people around them are doing.
Mhm.
because it is more comfortable. And so I had to like step in spaces where I wasn't the only one that was different. Like
Yeah.
we celebrated each other's differences, and that's what made us better for each other. So growing up in Detroit, like it is like everybody relatively thinks the same. And
Mhm.
so leaving that space and then going to a black college where some of that like thought still lingers, I was like, okay, like I need to figure out how to be my best self. And that didn't happen until like later in life as I got more comfortable and as I got more confident. But yeah, those struggles with mental health is not something that I've talked about really often, except with a few close people, because you just don't know you don't really know what it is at that time. And I'm so glad in this like new life we have, people are talking about mental health, and there's so many different types. And I really struggle with depression. When I got to New York, I really didn't experience that except like once when I was trying to change jobs and I felt stuck, and that ability not to be ambitious had like swallowed me up. And then once that passed by getting a new job, I was like, God, I don't like feeling like that. I really don't.
Yeah.
It's really hard, and it takes a toll on me and my body and my spirit. And so that's why I really try to make sure that I don't put myself in positions where I feel like that, or at least try not to.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I appreciate your honesty with that. I I totally can understand that. I feel like when you're growing up, there's a lot of distractions to your mental health, to just being aware and connected to it. I mean, you know when you're unhappy, you know when something's like
Yeah.
bothering you in a sense, but there are so many other systems and routines built around you to kind of, like you said, think a certain way, operate a certain way. And a lot of times, to help us feel better, we want to feel like we are connected socially and rewarded. You know, like if I do this, then my friends are gonna like support it. But if I do that, then they may not support it. And so a lot of people are gonna go against what they want to do, and they're gonna do, you know, what rewards them socially by their friends, their family. So I love that, like, part of your journey was being able to disconnect from the familiar environment so that you could truly go through your own healing journey, your own mental health awakening. And I always tell people, you know, like if you can break that cycle, because it's hard, it's very hard. It's very hard to like do something really radical, really different, really find yourself in a deeper way when you are surrounded by the same systems constantly. You can do it. It's no,
It's
it's not
so
like
hard.
impossible. It's just very hard. And I feel like college cracked my little trauma egg wide open. So there was no denying that this is something that you're either going to deal with or you're going to lose everything trying to hold on to. And so when you say, you know, I didn't like by the time you got to New York, I would probably say you have done some work. You know what I mean? Like just the fact
Yeah.
that by college you were like, something's not right, right? And I don't want this to be the path for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
The secret in that you mentioned was I always want to learn, I always want to grow. If people just understand that by itself, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of growth that happens in that mindset, that thinking that I'm always here to learn, I'm always here to grow, right? And so
You should
I am glad
always
you said,
be learning, and some people stop learning, stop evolving, stop growing, and they become stagnant and sometimes very often like unhappy,
yep,
you know,
yep,
and they
yep.
want other people to be unhappy with them. And I'm like, that's not my ministry.
Yeah, no, we have to constantly set goals for ourselves. You reach one goal or you get a new like breakthrough that you're like, maybe this wasn't for me, set a new one. Cause there's no
Yep.
finish line. You don't ever hit a line to say, all right, I reached all my goals in life. All I gotta do is exist. No, you don't. You will just
It don't
start
work like
dying.
that.
Like literally your body will just start breaking down because your brain has nothing to gravitate towards. It's literally a human need to continue to seek accomplishments, connections, spiritual growth, you know, in some way. And so I love that. I love that. And I can hear the healing journey that took place for you. And you can say, you know, by the time I got to this point in my life, I did feel the growth. I did feel like this wasn't just kind of something I was carrying around all the time, this feeling it came back, but it didn't stay, right? I knew how to
Yeah.
manage, I knew how to navigate that. And so super, super happy for you and proud of
Yeah.
you because everybody don't get that.
They don't. I think me and you had like very similar journeys, like in high
Yes.
school, like we were leaders, and I think people saw us as like carrying ourselves a certain way because we knew and understood our worth, even if we were going through different things at different times. But we knew that we wanted to successful, we had goals, we had things that we wanted to accomplish. And you can see when people carry that, and sometimes that really like upsets people that don't have that
Yes.
same like demeanor. And so they tend to try to like bring you back down or knock you
Mhm.
down a peg. And it really, you have to continue to stand tall until you meet people that support and surround you and that love that you like deserve. And I
Yeah.
think that is like one of the biggest lessons that I learned is like always be around people who love and support you. Like, don't be around people who want you to be on the same level as them, especially when you're like radiating higher.
Devonta, like you just shared so much, just so much knowledge, so much wisdom in that phrase alone. Finding people that are supportive of your potential, of your goals, of your aspirations is key. I always talk about, even as an entrepreneur, having an accountability person because you have obviously a lot of ambitions if you want to be an entrepreneur, so much work that
Yeah.
goes into it. So, but it's also very lonely and like it's easy to just kind of give up on yourself and be like, well, it's not going to happen or this is not going to work. So, what's the point type thing. So, like finding those communities, continuing to connect and latch on to and see the strengths in the people around you that are offering you that. Because I think sometimes there's always somebody there. You just may not recognize that that's what, that person is there for. And
Yeah.
you think, oh, well, my friends are actually over there. And so, that's who I'm going to go to. When in reality, your friends can only maybe get you to a certain point, and this is not even a bad thing. Your friends operate in a very specific way in your life, but there are like layers and levels to your life that if you want to get to higher, if you want to get to what's next for you, being able to get outside of your comfort zone, being able to recognize the other opportunities and other just gifts and talents around you that are trying to pull you up and say
Yeah.
like, here, hey, I'm here. I'm here to support you. I'm here to offer you this wisdom, this knowledge. Because I guarantee you, when it comes to, I haven't bought a house yet. Y'all, I'm telling y'all this right now. I haven't bought a house yet, only because I've moved a few times to different states. But when I get to that point, I don't want to talk to somebody who didn't buy a house yet. I want to talk to somebody who did this maybe a few times, who
Uh-huh.
understand the processes that can give me just knowledge that I didn't know. Because to your point, like we talked about with being first generational college students, a lot of mistakes were made just because I didn't know, right? Like I had to fill out my own financial aid paperwork. I had to
Same.
do this. I got purged the very first week of school because I was still trying to figure out how I was going to pay for it. So it was
We
just
we
like,
see each other. We understand that HBCU trauma, it makes you resilient when you get in the
yes.
real world. You like, oh, I done seen this before. People who don't experience that, they
Mhm.
are shook when they get into their professional careers because they're like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. I'm like,
Just the answer.
here you go. This is what you do. Like, it's gonna be
Right.
rough for a minute, but you be fine. Don't trip. And so they deal with those stresses later in life. And for me, I was like, listen, I done seen a lot before I got into my career.
Yes.
I'm good. I'd help know how to navigate this.
Yes. I'm gonna love the like mentoring. It's like, let me offer you some support. Let me give you this cloak of wisdom. So you don't have to be out here figuring this out alone, like I had
Hmm.
to. That's huge. So you talk about, finding the right people, finding your tribe in a sense, being able to continue to grow. What are some other habits, routines, things you do daily that help to just maintain happiness, your overall well-being?
Yeah, I think for me, it's really about putting myself first. That's most important. Every day I wake up and figure out like what I need to do. And that's been really important for me is like, what are my goals? What are my accomplishments for the day? I have my partner and we talk and like support each other in like everything that we do. So if he needs to do something, and I need to take on like responsibilities, then I'll do that. And vice versa. That's been so like important. But my daily routine is I drink like a cup of green tea. I'll drink water throughout the day, make sure that all of my priorities for that time is like really taken care of. And I'm not like a big like I've done yoga before, I've done meditation, but really like try to make sure that I am like grateful and thankful for every day, whether that's like saying a prayer. Sometime I may skip just to be quite honest, but when I remember, I will pick up my favorite like Psalms and different things like that just to give me like an uplift, especially, those days when I'm not feeling like my best self. And each day is like different, but the goal is to like recognize the days when you feel the strongest and the most powerful and
Mhm.
really try to copy those. And it's not going to be, there's 365 days in the year. Like
Right.
every day is not going to be great. But the way to get through that is to like understand, like, if you have a problem, like, how can I find a solution? If
Mhm.
there's not a solution, immediately, how can I work towards that goal? So it's really about always keeping, like really always moving forward, even when things get like the low of low, like you can't give up. You
Yeah.
have to keep pushing until you have that breakthrough, and
Yeah.
you'll be like, thank God. You will be so happy. You feel like this burst of like spirit and energy, like just come out of you when those like clouds go away. But it
Yeah.
really is tough. But I learned that if you, in these years that I've existed, if you just keep moving forward, you will have that breakthrough that you need throughout the day.
Yes, I love that. So one of the things that you spoke on that it just makes me think of is how just certain things are inevitable in life. So I think we all know, life is full of surprises and hiccups and all of that kind of stuff. But this idea that if I work towards something, it's too hard, so I won't do it, right? Like, I just tell people if you want to be a doctor, that's probably 10 years of school, do it. Because the alternative is, because a lot of times people say, I don't want to do it, it's too hard, I gotta study, da 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 da. The
Mhm.
alternative is you just gonna have different kind of hardships or different kind of struggles. What's inevitable in life is pain. Like the human experience, we are going to experience pain. We're going
Mhm.
to experience, and that when I say pain, I'm not saying like physical pain, although that's part of it. I mean like emotional pain, like mental fatigue, sometime all of that. And so just because you're on a goal towards something great don't mean that it's going to be a smooth path. In fact, it may be even harder at times. And so I love how you said that, like, even when you're at your lowest, just keep moving forward because we're going to experience pain anyway. It's almost like just expect it, like be able to embrace that that's going to be a part of your journey, whether you're doing something great or not. So if there's something great in you, go ahead and do it because you're not going to get like a pass from the pain or from the hardships because you decide to go the other route. You're still going
Yeah.
to experience it. It's just going to look different.
And it's like, it's so important to like understand that early. When I was going
Mhm.
through the things that I was going through in my 20s, I did not see like the future. Like I knew I had this vision and an idea, and I always like kept that in the back of my head. I did not know how I was going to get there. Like I just did not have this clear set path,
Yeah.
but understanding like it's okay to feel pain, it's okay to talk to people about it that you feel close and confident in, but you are gonna have to go through that sometime, and it makes you a lot stronger. It doesn't feel like it at the moment, but it definitely does get better, as time goes along.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely a healthy way to do it. So even hearing how your morning routine goes, where you're like, I fuel my body with things that are adding to my body. You're not saying I'm waking up and taking a shot of whiskey.
hmm And I exercise. That has been something that I like, and I'm like Oprah. I can yo-yo diet or
Yeah.
yo-yo exercise. Like sometimes I'm like, I don't feel like it, but I do try to make it a part of my like weekly routine to
Hmm.
get in the gym, do some sweating, and just be out in the world. And that's been helpful to really like be happy and feel those like endorphins rushing through you.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
that's one of my like weekly routines. I wouldn't say daily.
But you like even when you say like you talk to people, there are so many benefits to that. I think about when we are navigating life, we're encountering stress.
Hmm.
And if you work, kind of a calm job, like I sit in front of the computer with most of my work, unless I'm doing a training or a workshop or something like that, I'm kind of sitting still. I don't get like excused from stress. I'm receiving stressful experiences, which,
Um,
there's a normal amount of stress you're going to receive anyway. But when you're like experiencing high stress and chronic stress and all of that kind of stuff, having a way to get that out is essential to your mental health. And so when we talk about like that pain, those struggles, all of that kind of stuff, I mean, that could also be a code word for stress, for trauma, for sometimes our mental health struggles, finding a balance to that, right? And saying, like, what am I doing to just encourage just health in my life, whether that is I'm exercising, I'm trying to eat good. For me, it might be just going for a walk and enjoying that the weather is not scorching hot because we had some 110 days recently. So if it's
how
if
you do
it's
it?
anything under 100, I might be like, this is a good day.
Yeah.
To go for a walk and finding the gratitude in that and feeling that, looking for those opportunities to release those stress hormones, those that adrenaline, that cortisol, and boost those positive hormones, that dopamine, those endorphins. And so I love how you explained that. And so like I think a lot of times people get so defeated in their hardships is because they feel, they don't have a balance. They're like, it's just one thing after another that feels like I can't get ahead. And in reality, we're experiencing that too, right? We learn how to find the balance in that. We learn how to encourage and boost our parasympathetic nervous system to where, yeah, we're doing things that naturally bring our heart rate down, that
Hmm.
naturally allow us to feel calm, that, allow us to feel peace at different times throughout the day, no matter what's going on. And so I would just say just finding the balance in that is a key to the stress is always there and sometimes it's higher than normal, but it doesn't have to be chronic. Now, how do
And
you, oh, go ahead.
go ahead. No, I was gonna say, actually, we might lead into this, so let me
Okay.
see what you have to say.
I was gonna say, how do you handle setbacks and difficult times and staying committed to your journey of self-improvement?
Yeah, I think what's been most important to me is like I know how to identify setbacks relatively early. So I kind of pull from previous experience with similar setbacks and remember how I like navigated that, how I felt, what I did to get out of like that situation. And like setbacks experience like are experienced in different ways, whether it's the loss of a loved one, financial setbacks, career setbacks, but I think is really trying to like get over that hump that happened. So like say in your career you're not happy and you're not feeling as accomplished, like what I did during that time in my life is that I went and got like additional skills. I just didn't like sit on the sideline and be like praying that I would get like a new job. I started creating my own like
Mm-hmm.
path. And so none of the companies beyond my first career I
Mm-hmm.
actually expected to work for. Some people have this like meteoric rise. Some people have these like situations where they go from representative to manager to senior manager to director all at the same company. In our like lifetime, that doesn't necessarily exist in the same way, but some
Yeah.
people are still able to do that.
Mhm.
For me, I was like, I need to create my own path. And so I did not start my career in social media. I started in like traditional like fashion marketing. I was
Mhm.
like, this is not really working out for me. So I went back and got like a digital marketing certification, and that just changed my trajectory in a way that I was like, oh, I really enjoy like social media marketing. Really enjoy content marketing. And as I've gotten further in my career, like people reach out and say, hey, would you be interested in working for us in this role and X, Y, and Z? And so I don't know where my like career is going to take me. I'm always like trying to achieve. I don't even know what my like full long-term goal is.
Yeah.
I just want to be I want to leave this world better than I found it, have some type of impact. It doesn't have to be like a Barack Obama sized impact, but I want to make sure like people feel inspired
Mhm.
by like my journey and my trajectory and how I like present myself. Um, but yeah, I think really identifying those setbacks and have you been through it before? How did you tackle it that last time?
Yeah.
To try to keep those stresses down because you've known you've been through it before and you got through it, you can do it again. And I think that's the like most important when you first start having setbacks, you can't see that far ahead, but
Yeah.
that means to like just figure out like, do I need to pivot? Do I need to go a different route than the route that I'm going? And I think that's like really the most important part of it.
Yeah, wow, that's super powerful. You sound like you're a reflective person. As you move through life, you don't just say, "Oh, this happened," and then that's it, and what? Oh well. You like kind of are intentional about processing your experiences, trying to learn from your experiences. If something is
Hmm.
happening that you're not sure about, you're like, let me kind of not reinvent the wheel essentially, but just kind of see what is in my toolkit to be able to navigate this in a way that even though I can't see how this is going to completely play out, I do feel confident and capable of handling it to some degree, and that's
Exactly.
super powerful. Also, you said something. Oh, really appreciate hearing somebody else say, I don't know what I want to do forever. Cause I always say that. I just be like, and I love what I do. I love the kind of work I
Yeah.
do. I feel like I'm at a place in my life where I'm just like, I don't have complaints about my work anymore. Like there was times where I was like, this is not for me. I got to do something different. And to your point, I was just like, I need to make myself a little bit, more marketable by getting certain skill sets or
Yeah.
certifications or that kind of thing. But I'm always kind of open to the evolution of what my path is in God's eyes, my impact is on people around me, being able to offer assistance, help,
Yeah.
inspiration, all of that. And so just kind of keeping there's a freedom in that. I mean, it's sometimes scary to be like, you still don't know what you want to do forever, but also I'm like, I'm on a good track. So I must be doing okay. And there's a
Yeah.
freedom in that I'm not locked in to only this. I can, kind of maneuver in whatever that is, as long as it's like you said, impacting people in
Yeah.
a positive way, in an inspiring way. I
And
really like
the only thing that's constant is change. And so I understand that like I didn't expect to be at this company. I didn't expect to be at the last company. You
mhm,
know, you have these places and these like companies that you admire, but you may never get that like quote unquote dream job. And so open to all different paths. And that's what has helped me like continue to create the life that I want for myself.
mhm,
I currently don't know what, you know, the future holds. Nobody really does, but if the opportunity comes up that aligns with where I feel comfortable and feel confident, I can succeed in and I'm being like challenged, then I'm all for it, you know.
yeah, yeah, right. We here for always growing and moving forward and evolving. I love that.
Always growing and evolving, like no matter what age you are. I think we feel like we can only do certain things by a certain age,
That's
and
so
that's not
true.
true. Like some
Yeah,
people come into their power in their 40s, in their 50s, in their 60s. You still have so much life. We in this generation and previous generations live so much longer than our like ancestors, so we have so much opportunity to like experience, change, and pivot and do something else.
yeah. Yeah, I almost speaks to when you say, one of the things that felt like one of the routines and things that helps you just kind of continue on your path is putting yourself first. And I know sometimes when people hear things like that or self-care, they think, well, there are so many other responsibilities. If I'm at a place in my life to where I'm doing good, then it's selfish to just keep saying put yourself first. But in reality, the putting yourself first is not this like back turning on other people event.
Hmm.
It actually opens the umbrella and the gates to be able to assist other people. When I put myself first, I am not necessarily say I'm doing this because I'm gonna, help other people, but I know that my capacity opens up my, my abilities, my
Mhm.
range, my, my endurance, all of that opens up when I'm taking care of myself. If I am constantly depleted, I don't have the ability to have visions. I don't have the ability to assist. I don't have the ability to, kind of find those creative spaces to be able to offer. And so I love that you said that and explained that in a way that, like, me taking care of myself is how I give back.
You can't pour from an empty cup. Like you have to like restore yourself in order to help others. And I think oftentimes like people are on empty so they don't have anything else to give. And that keeps them at this like low point because they're always giving, but never like receiving or restoring themselves. And so I'll be in this house for a whole week restoring myself before be social, and I'm perfectly fine with that in this
Yeah.
stage of life. I work from home often and sometimes I'm in the office, but I'll be in the house for a week and I ain't seen nobody, especially now that it's like still hot.
Oh
I'm
my
like,
gosh.
I'm sitting in this air condition, I'm gonna watch TV, I'm gonna get on this Peloton and I'm gonna call it a day.
Exactly. Amen. To staying in the house. Can you discuss the impact of relationships and community on your happiness and personal growth?
I have been so blessed to be supported by like so many people over the years in direct and indirect ways. My number one like supporter being my partner. He's just like over the last almost like 9 years has really been like my strongest support. Then my family has always supported me, even though they didn't always understand my like vision for life because they didn't experience things in the same way that I did. And then building a like community of friends and community of organizations that taught me different things that I didn't know at a certain time that I still carry with myself to this day. Know that my like pyramid is kind of like shifting and like support and how I think about community. And so during the time of when I was like trying to find myself and figure out who I was as a person, my community was like friends and people and organizations that I really identify closely with. And a lot of times during that time, I had kind of like pushed my family away because I just knew they didn't completely understand who I was as a person. And that was not their fault. They just didn't have any like experience with it. So I found people that I identified closer with. And now in my like elder millennial years, my community is shifting back to like family. A lot of people know and support me in a different way, and it's so rewarding. So I'm like pouring back into family and my like friend circle is becoming smaller with people who are like very supportive of me. People can say they are, but it's like really in the actions that they do. And so I don't have like any like hard feelings or animosity towards anyone. I am just like giving less of myself as I go into this like new phase of life. And so that's been really interesting for me to see because
Yeah.
I've always been, not always, but really been friend focused because I've lived away from home for so long,
Yeah.
but I see this like I'm coming back to family, which, has been very helpful. And I'm like becoming mom to my mom. I'm in that like
Yeah.
parenting the parent phase. So it's really interesting to see.
Yeah. Wow, that's beautiful actually. Like, I do feel like when you a big part of just growing up is self-discovery, and there's a amazing feeling when you kind of get to a place where I can live the life that is meant for me. I could be just really kind of in a space that, is not created or defined by others, but
Yeah.
something that is for me. And so sometimes I do feel like there's shifts in how, like I'll say the word family, but not necessarily meaning your literal blood family, but the family that you create to be able to grow
Your
and
chosen
be in that
family.
space. Yeah. But I think it's beautiful to be able to come back to that because for me, I see the strengths in our relationships, right? And that's kind of how I
Hmm.
look at relationships. Unless you just don't want the relationship, that's your choice. And I respect it and I honor that. I feel like people have the choice, they can choose to not want to rock with you.
Yeah,
However, for everybody, and there's so many, right? There's so many relationships. There's a strength in that. And it doesn't mean I have to interact with you every day, every week. People who know me know I probably talk on the phone less than a handful of times a year to you. And that does not mean anything bad because I'm
it
just not your
doesn't.
person. To your point, like that access to me is so cherished and so limited just because you're so like focused on growing and protecting yourself and really kind of being intentional about where you pour your energy into. And so when I talk about these strengths, it's like we have these touch points, right? I give something to you, you give something to me in some kind of way. It could be a conversation. I'm so glad we got to have that conversation. It could be, like we share this interest and I could be able to connect with this person in this way of like, yeah, we both get this, right?
Exactly.
It's so many different things. We could both be mothers or we could both be in the same career field, whatever that is. But just being able to say like all relationships serve different kind of purpose. They don't have to be everything that you need, like that you need for yourself because there are so many different people you can get those
Yeah.
needs from. So being able to just find the benefits, find the strengths in each relationship to be able to say, I have family and I have the ability to connect with my family in many ways, have the ability to connect with my friends in many ways, and I'm still limited and protecting my space so that I
Hmm.
can be available and seeing those things and offering those things back.
And
I just
different
think it's
people get
beautiful.
like different versions of you. Like if you have this like bucket of like different parts of yourself or different parts of your personality. Sometimes like different parts of your personality comes up in different moments with different people. And like
Yeah,
an example is like at work, I'm a lot more like professional. They get a bit of my all around self depending on who I'm talking to, depending what situation I'm in, which we kind of like call
yeah,
code switching. I tend to like pull from different buckets. That
yes,
doesn't mean like I'm like selling out. It just means that I'm highlighting a certain
yes,
part of myself at a certain time. And yeah, I think that is something that like we need to learn
yes,
as Black community is to be able to pull certain parts of your personality up at certain times. It's not being inauthentic. It's just about like
yes.
navigating like spaces which aren't always welcoming or which aren't always ours.
I love that because you're right. The big part of people's difficulties with getting into certain places is not feeling like they can be their full self in those spaces.
Hmm.
And I don't think those spaces have full access to me, right?
Yeah.
And so how do I want to give them all of that? Like I don't there's very few people that get full access to me. I mean, like, the trap music part of me, right?
Right. Yeah.
I'm trying to, build my business credit part of me, like all of these different things. So a lot of times it's just the pieces of you that's going out to just different audiences. And I'm really glad I can kind of, compartmentalize that and choose how I let that out because all of those parts of me matter. And no one part should just, I mean, unless it's like your significant other, somebody
Yeah.
who you were like life partnering with and life and with and everything. Like most people are not supposed to get all of you. That's where the access in that protecting your peace is important. And so when I'm at work, I don't want you to see me when I'm mad or I'm heartbroken or that kind of thing
Yeah.
because that's not the space where I'm gonna feel safest, being able to nurture that, right? So
Hmm.
like to your point, that's not me being inauthentic or me selling out. That's just saying this part of me, this space deserves this access to me, and that's it, and that's
Yeah.
okay. And I adjust that. I mean, and I think that's another thing, adjusting that. Like sometimes you'll see things in people or in spaces where you're like, oh, I didn't know that. And it could be good or
Hmm.
bad, but don't feel like you gotta just, keep status quo. If you're seeing something shifting, it's okay for you to figure out, well, how do I choose to show up in this space now, knowing that, this is happening, right? Because if something starts to become very weird, right, then I want to be able to take a step back. I don't want to be just blind and acting like completely aloof to what I'm recognizing, and then when I get hit with that hammer, I'm like, what happened? Like you saw it coming.
Exactly.
It was
Yeah.
signs. So just, being aware that like as things are happening around you, pay attention. And you'll
Mhm.
probably figure out how you can navigate that in a way that protects you.
Yeah,
Um,
protection is like the most important part of it. It's like you have to protect yourself from that hurt.
Absolutely. Yes, I love that. So how do you stay empowered or motivated, inspired, all of the above on your path of self improvement, self empowerment, growth, your journey?
Yeah, so I didn't recognize that I was an like ambitious person as I was like going through really through like grade school, mostly through high school. I think other people saw it, but I really didn't see it. I just assumed that it was something that was like really natural. But I recognize like in my career, I'm always like figure out like what the next step is for me. And I figured out like through that journey, I found like happiness with traveling that keeps me like motivated. It also restores me when I am like feeling low, like being able to experience like how other people live and how they find happiness has been really interesting for me. So I've been now like 31 or 32 countries. I remember specifically going to like Cuba and to Mexico, and even though these people don't have as many resources as we do here in the States. Like they are some of the most loving and happiest people. They would give you the shirt off their back just to be like welcoming to you. And that was like really, really eye-opening. Like just traveling and understand like what makes other people happy. I think that living in America, like we had these like certain standards, like we think about, money, career,
Mhm.
X, Y, and Z, but people are like, I just want to be happy. I want time off of work. I want to take a picnic. I want to go pick up my kids from school.
Yeah.
Their values are different. And that's really like guided me in a way that I'm like, you need to like figure out how you want to prioritize yourself, your happiness, and your purpose in life. And yeah, I would like want to continue traveling, until I'm old in the face. Right now, I'm really like going to all the different places that I can see and figuring
Yeah.
out like where, as I get older, I want to like go back to or maybe get like a small place at that I can return to for like half of the year. But
Mhm.
through that travel, I found so much happiness. And in college, the farthest I had probably been was like Atlanta or Ohio. And I had a friend, 2014, took me to like Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. From that from that time, then we went to Amsterdam, Netherlands, and since then I've been hooked because I was like, this is so amazing, and I wish that so many more people would be open to like experience travel, because it's really eye-opening. That is something that we see a lot more nowadays with like Black travel influencers in general, like making it exciting to go to a lot of these like bigger places like London or
Yeah.
Paris or Rome, but the world is huge. And so it's great to explore like most places. Let me not say most places, a lot of places are much safer
Yeah.
the US. And of course, like my parents are like, and my grandmother is always worried until I touch US soil. But I'm like, I'm quite sure the places I've been are much safer. There's been times where I can be out at night and it's just like feel the safety that I'm okay.
Hmm.
I don't think I've been to any places where my psyche was like,
Yeah.
Molly, you in danger, girl. Like
Yeah.
there was no times, but I'm very intentional about the places that I go to. And, it's
Mhm.
all about just doing research and figuring out what what you want to see, what you want to do. Are you like into adventure? Are you into like
Hmm.
nature? Are you into the beach? I'm like more of like a nature adventurer now as I've gotten to see a lot of things. And so that that travel restores me so much. I just always feel like I have a fresh start and I'm always like, oh, I could live here,
Yeah, yeah,
but I'm happy, here in New York City.
yeah. My gosh, that's cool. It's really cool actually. I like the way you describe it as it feels like a fresh start. It almost like the way you explain it, it's almost like it unlocks just areas in your mind, seeing other things, experiencing other cultures. It's almost like being a traveler, like you are going to, I mean, how many people can say they've been in 30 plus countries, right? So
Yeah.
amazing. It's like having a library, a cultural and history library inside of you, and it's not just from like maybe reading things or watching things, which is great. I'm like a person who likes to learn and gravitate towards that, but experiencing it, like there is something, there is nothing like experiencing things. I
It
always say, like, when you look at a picture that is beautiful, you're like, oh my gosh, where is that? I'm like, you're looking at a picture, it's probably 10 times more beautiful in person. Like, you have to experience. If you hear music, for example, it's way better when you hear it live or in person. And
yeah.
so having that, I think, like, is it sounds like it's an amazing adventure, an amazing journey. And I was laughing when you said, I have this kind of like sense of safety, because I'm like, you for sure, like you're telling the truth when you say that. Like, you're a black man in America, you're from Detroit,
Mhm.
Michigan. You like, when you say, like, I feel safe, like, you feel safe. Like, so
It's just different. Like there's some places where you like, yeah, I'm here in the US, you're like, yeah, I'm not getting out the car. This feels like
right.
sketchy
Yeah.
AF. And then I'm walking through like Amsterdam at like 2 a.m. and it's like quiet and serene often, or it could be like different places. And while I'm like traveling or on vacation, I consider them to be two different things. Travel
Yeah.
is like seeing everything and just keeping kind of like moving. Vacation is like when you take time to relax. I'm more of a
Yeah.
traveler, but I did take vacation, this summer when I went to Antigua and just like did
Nice.
absolutely nothing but laid up in a mountain cottage, read a book. It's not my normal thing, but like I feel myself like just entering like this new era. And so really just like different things are happening right now, which is really, really crazy to me.
Yeah. I also love this being able to connect with other value systems. I think a lot of times when you live in a place, or you're, surrounded by something that's familiar to you, that becomes the world to you. And
It
you're
becomes
just,
your norm.
that's everything. And when you kind of step outside of that, and there's so many opportunities or areas to step outside of that, and you realize it could be completely different in different areas,
Mhm.
different parts of the world. And it's really, really refreshing to see, like, oh my gosh, to me, that's where the unlocking in your thinking and in your mind comes from, is being able to say, not only do I now really know that there's other ways to look at life and live life, I've actually seen it and seen people
Yeah.
happy in that. Because now it's a reality, not just a thought or, a phrase you heard somebody say. So
And
that's
you
one of the
you
most beautiful
re re
parts.
you really reevaluate what's most important to you, and you start putting things a little bit higher that seemed kind of like not of interest, but you're
Mhm.
like, this is what I really enjoy. Other people enjoy this in the same way I do. I want this to be higher so I can be happier,
Yes.
in my life instead of focusing on, oh, I need to get these new shoes or I need this car. I live in New York, so I don't have a car. So
Yeah.
I find value and happiness in like other ways, which is traveling.
Yes. Yeah, I love that. I'm sure that comes from a space for you. I know when I was a kid, we traveled every year. And so as an adult, I'm like, I want to travel. We
Mhm.
went to the same place, though. It was usually like Mississippi or someplace down south, because that's where my family was. And, we got to kind of go and visit. But now I was just like, I just want to see different
Yeah.
places I've
We
never been.
we didn't travel growing up.
Really?
I think we went to Jamaica once when I was about 14 or 15, which was really cool, but also, no, I wasn't even, yeah, I might have been like 13 or 14. Those don't, I remember the experience, but I don't, and so travel didn't become really an opportunity for me until I had a job and like could pay for my own stuff.
Yeah. I love that. So y'all listening, traveling, the love of traveling does not have to come from previous travel. For me, I can connect it to that because I'm like, I remember this. So I get a
Yeah.
feeling about planning the trip. And I'm like, oh yeah, family trip type thing. And you have a love for travel and have traveled way more places than me, by the way. And didn't have that past. And so this is directly like aligned with today's episode is about just kind of creating that life you want, being in charge of your happiness in
hmm
your life. I love that. For you, being able to take that charge and kind of lead your life in this way of like, I want happiness, right? How has that impacted other areas of your life, like your career, your health, right? Your relationships.
Yeah. For me, it's been really helpful for me to be happy in my
Mm,
life because that makes me be better towards other people within my life. And so I remember when I was like switching jobs, it was hard for me to be happy. And my partner at the time, we were like very fresh in our like relationship
mhm.
was like struggling to connect with me because I just had went through this depression. And so when I was able to get out of that, that really helped like solidify our relationship because I was happy, which in turn meant that we were happy. But I also allow my happiness to trickle over to my family, which means being supportive to them in everything that they're doing. Also being kind of like this guiding light to be like, listen, I don't think you should do this, and this is why. Giving them examples of how, like, a better solution exists for what you really want to do. Because oftentimes, like, being first generation, like, the experiences that we have are so different from our families. And when there's a better way and a better solution, you have to tell them, even if they're kind of resistant to it. And as they
Yeah.
get more comfortable with being able to articulate how and why they should do something better, they're like, okay, oh, this is like easier. I don't know why I wasn't doing this before because you just don't like have that experience. And so living
Yeah.
my best life has been inspirational to family, friends, sometime across like social media, Facebook particularly, like like not old family members, but old friends, family, relatives will just send me a message and be like, I am so inspired by what you do. I'm like so proud of you. And that really warms my heart because it allows me to be like authentic self a lot more. And they're
Mhm.
like, I'm just so happy to see like you living your best life and living your authenticity. And that like means like the world to me is that somebody I may not have talked to in 5 or 10 years, from seeing me like post images,
Yeah.
definitely like the highlight reel of life, they're just so happy for me,
Yes.
and that's really that is why I like also continue just to do it so it inspires others to do the same.
Yes. Inspiration is the key there because I think that we with the social media and the digital era that we're in, we see like a lot of wonderful living, right? We see celebrities, we see all of these, wealthy people. And I feel like, there's a certain just awe in that, being able to see that.
Yeah.
But you being a person that people actually know and living the way you live makes it a different kind of reality
Mhm.
for people to say, wow, like this actually does exist and is really possible. And I don't have to be a really rich person or a really famous person to travel all over the world to be a happy person, to
You do.
find just internal joy and shine. Like I feel like the radiant, just inspiration is it. Like people just see it. It oozes off of you.
And I even though I show a highlight, like you are not going to see me in my house clothes working during the day. Like, that is not something that I necessarily feel is relevant. And so like I understand that I like to have a haircut. If I'm going to take a picture, like to do like I trimmed up before this podcast because I know I hadn't had a haircut in like a week, but
Mhm.
want to show people a side of my life that has value for me and
Yes.
hopefully has value for them. And so for people who are like, I'm living my best life, yes, but there are still things that happen throughout the week, throughout the day that can be a setback. But I choose not highlight that part of my life
Yeah.
because that is just fueling negativity and making it permanent within like a social space.
Yeah.
And that is not where I want to be. I remember being on Facebook back in the day, and I used to talk so much shit
I know.
back in the
In
day.
Facebook,
It
that's so
reminds
good.
me of the ratchet craziness that I used to post.
Yeah.
And I just like it's so cringe to me now that I'm like, what were you thinking? But
Yes.
I realized I was in a different space in life. Was in college. It was a new platform. We did not have social media etiquette that we
Yeah.
do today. And now working in that space, I'm like, okay, this is how you show up.
Yeah. I think the way you explained that I connect with because I know you mentioned a few times that, sometimes we are in different areas of growth and just in different journeys of reaching your goals and living a happy life. There are people that don't get it and
Yeah.
they seem like they want to kind of like pull away from you or they want to see you in a negative way. And so
Mhm.
like when you say that, it makes me think about how sometimes people look at a lot of people are just hiding aspects of their life to make it look like everything's perfect. And I don't think it's that at all. And I think the way you just explained it was really perfect. It's not that we don't go through things. It's just that's not how I choose to show highlights because Facebook and social media and just different platforms are about showing highlights. And if you choose to show like all journeys of your life, that's totally fine. I'm not against
That's up
that.
to you. Yeah.
You're literally on this podcast talking about like, look, I went through this, I experienced this, I navigated this. Like you're not here saying, well, my life has been great and sunshines and the flowers just came out the ground when I was born, right? You're like, no, I go through stuff. And I think sometimes when people see you highlight like the positive aspects of your life, they're thinking that you're trying to intentionally withhold. And it's just like, no, I'm proud and happy about being able to highlight these aspects. And I feel like my goal here is to celebrate this part of me and
Yeah.
also inspire others. You know what I mean? Just through my
Yeah.
journey. And so I don't want you to think I'm perfect and I don't go through stuff. I just don't, I don't want to focus on that.
And I recognize that some people do highlight like all aspects, and that's wonderful for them, but that's just like not my journey in this stage of life, and people have like I think they get a bigger share, comment from like negativity
Yep.
or things that are funny. But I'm okay with, maybe only a few people
Yeah.
liking a post that, I'm happy with. I get to like share my family or share my niece or,
Yep.
just share like, this interesting moment that I perceive, in comparison to like, Facebook has sometimes become like I lost X, Y, and Z. And I'm just
Yeah. And pray for me and
like, yeah, it's
and
become
I'm the person that's gonna pray for you. So I'm
like a memorial for people. And I'm just like, gosh, so sometimes this is like very Debbie Downer when I come on here. And, I didn't know this person. And even though like I am, sympathize, I'm like very empathetic,
yeah.
but sometimes like I won't go on Facebook just because like it's just kind of like a lot of like mixed signals of like
Yes.
different emotions and content and stuff.
So, you said that and it just sparked something for me. There is a reason I think I don't also share more sensitive things on social media very often. Like you might every once in a while, like there's a few times a year I may post like some grieving things, but most of the time
Hmm.
I'm not really posting things like that. I used to work for a job where every Monday morning we would share our highs and lows, and in that, we would share like really good things that happen and really bad things, or that kind of thing. What you felt like sharing, what you felt comfortable sharing, and it just felt to me, there was like a disconnect in that space because the way I worked at that job, I was connected to a few people, but not like really the full team. And
Yeah.
so, and you could sense like who was connecting, who wasn't by how people responded in that. And so, I remember one time I was like celebrating my birthday, but also like I had just lost my sister, and we were in one of those. And I don't know if I said it or what, but I don't even think I got a happy birthday in that. And so I was like, I don't know what I was expecting by sharing that, but so
Yeah.
for me, going back to that space of sharing or just having people have access to you and the safety around that, I feel like, when I do share things that's more sensitive, I want it to be a safe space. And to me, social media in general is just not a safe space for that. Like, I don't want to invite random people into more sensitive aspects of my life to where I'm looking for some type of nurturing, some type of specific support,
Or
because I
validation.
don't think I'm going to get that there. And if
Yeah.
I'm looking for that, it's going to be disappointing for me. And so why create disappointment for yourself
Yeah.
when you know where your safe spaces are? Go to those spaces. You know where nurturing is going to be at for you. Go there, right? And so I think that's kind of it's an intentionality thing. I go here for this. I go there for these other things. And Facebook and social media and those kind of places, it's not my safe space.
Agree.
Cool. Um, for you, what future goals or aspirations do you have for your journey of self-empowerment and happiness?
A good question. I am transitioning into the phase of my like soft life. So, I recognize that I've done a lot and I have so much more to do, but I want to do more and be happy and live a soft life and just be comfortable in the things that I'm doing. For me, as I'm getting older, I recognize that I need to like continue to make healthy choices with food and exercise. So I know sometimes as we get older, we get a little bit more like non sedentary. I think that's the word in our lives. And so I want to just like continue to remain active, continue traveling the world. I hope to get to at least 100 countries, and
Wow.
then also continue like meeting new people and having new experiences even at this stage as like an elder millennial. And so it's about like continuing to have experiences and not limiting myself because I feel like I'm too old or I feel like I'm too that. Like I'm still in great health. I'm still doing what I love and I like expect to just like continue that for the next few years, but go in it in a way where I'm healthy, strong, and mentally, physically, and spiritually, just healthy all around.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Keep on setting those goals. One of the things I like about, you and then just saying, I'm in this soft life era. I think sometimes people have this misconception about that and seeing that as I'm just, living kind of this social life. I just have a lot of money and time and all of this. And it's just like, well, you're working, right?
Hmm.
Like you have different kind of projects you take on and create for yourself.
Yep.
um, Even when you talk about traveling, I know right before we started the podcast, you talked about a traveling experience that wasn't the like just like as expected. There were some things that went off pitch, but you still enjoyed that trip. You still found value and enjoyment in that. And I think sometimes people, when they think about self life, they think, oh well, that's just everything's just supposed to fall in my lap and just be perfect. And in reality, you still look for gratitude. You still like have to make sure your internal joy is fused
Yeah.
and radiating, because there are things that happen that could be an instant setback for you. And you get to this place of like, dang, is this really what I wanted it to be, or that kind of thing. And
Yeah.
there's awesome opportunity to say, well, yes, it is what I wanted it to be. I love that. Just because and being intentional about creating the health spaces, because I noticed for me, while I have this toddler in my life right now, I spend a few days with my toddler, y'all. Um, there is just time I don't have to do certain things. Like I'm not
Yeah.
at the gym like I want to be because I'm in mom mode, or I'm not like, and there's days I have created for myself to do things, but time, is crucial. You have to create that and be able to say, like, this is how I want to use this.
Listen, you moms are doing the work. I have a cousin who has a whole little family. We're like close to the same age. And I'm like, Jesus, I'm just sitting here working and traveling and, without the like responsibility of kids. And that's something that, I don't know like when or if it will happen. And that is a choice that's been intentional for me because I'm like,
Mhm.
sometimes it's not intentional for everybody. And so
Right.
you have to like pivot to support these new little human beings in this world,
Yeah.
which mean you lose some of the things that you had like envisioned for yourself.
Mhm.
But, for me, like the soft life just means like continuing on the path I am on currently.
Yeah.
And, one of the things that I appreciate is that this summer I was able to pay off my like student loans,
Oh,
which
nice. That's a
was
huge
such
congratulations.
a blessing. I did not think I was ever gonna pay them off,
Mhm.
but I
I
just
remember
buckled
that.
down and like it's just like my life is like a different set of choices and I have to pick the right route that's right for me. And yeah, I feel on the up and up, and I'm so proud of that accomplishment. So
Yeah.
I just continue making choices that, make me happy and make me successful for like the greater future.
Yeah. Yeah, that message in that choices thing is so huge. You choose your choices, and essentially the consequences that follow that are connected to that. And consequences don't have to be a bad thing. They
Yeah.
can be a positive thing. It's just kind of the domino effect, cause and effect, right? Like if I do this, then
Hmm.
something will happen after this. And so congratulations for paying off student
Thank you.
loans. I
Thank you.
remember that too, being like, okay, well, I know I got to take out loans to go to college, but this is gonna be tens of thousands of dollars, and I don't know how I will ever pay that back, right? And
Yeah.
just being like, well, I just accept that I'll be in debt forever. And then there was a point where I was like, well, maybe that is not right. The answer, the end for me. Maybe I will be able to pay this off one day. And just seeing that as a possibility and having people, right? Like as you grow and you age and seeing them like say that, like I paid off my student loans or I'm debt free is like amazing because sometimes we don't even see that as a possibility. I think a lot of
We do.
this this podcast episode has been so powerful in just understanding that like you don't see the future, but as long as you are on the path towards your goals or towards something that feels like it's for you, the doors will open, the opportunities will come, the things that you are going towards will become magnetic to you. Like all you
Mhm.
have to do is move in a direction and be the person you are trying to be, and things will just start to happen. And I wish I would have known that then. I'm glad, we are able to have this
We
conversation and
we
say,
didn't know it. We really
right, right, yeah. I'm glad we were able to have this conversation and say, oh my gosh, it worked out.
yeah. And thank you for having me. This has been like such a breath of fresh air to like share my journey and really talk about it openly because I just don't think people get to like hear me and see me talk about like some of the experiences that I have and also
Yes.
like this new and next level of like transitional phase that I'm in my life that is nice to like get that out into the world and do it with somebody that I've known for like so long, you know.
Yeah. Yes. Is there any messages, any takeaways that you would like to leave our listeners who are looking to take charge of their happiness, take charge of their life?
This is your life. It's not your mom's, it's not your dad's, it's not your partner's. You have to figure out and decide what makes you happy in this world. It could be weird, it could be crazy. Find people who support that happiness for you and surround yourself with that love and support is like the most important thing. If you're not in a space to do that, then keep that thought. And once you are able to break out of that little bucket, that little crab barrel that you may exist in currently, then find people that align with how you want to live your life and how you want to live your happiness, and never try not to compare yourself or your journey to others. It's still something that I work on till this day, but I have like sometimes like there are people doing like so much more amazing than me, have like superseded some of the people who had started before me, but it was never like a race. It was just a race for me to find what
Mhm.
makes me happy, what I feel the most powerful in, what I feel like the most connected to. And I'm still on that journey and I have like so much farther to go, but I really feel solid about where I'm at now.
Yes, yes. That's amazing, an amazing, amazing message. Yes, guys, your life is yours, and you don't have to wait till circumstances show up or opportunities present themselves. Be on a vigilant journey to find your happiness, to find your path, to discover who you are and stand in that. I love that. I love that message. Devontae, can you share with people how they can find you, how they can get in touch with you? Where are you located in the social media world?
You can most likely find me and get in contact with me on LinkedIn at Devontae V White on LinkedIn. I'm also on Instagram, so FitFly Fellow on Instagram, and then my website, which I need to update, is www.devontaewhite. We'll get that updated soon, but those are the most social media handles that I usually use, so always happy to chat and,
Yes.
share knowledge where I can with people.
Absolutely. I really appreciate you coming on here today and just sharing so much wisdom, just being really authentic and honest in your journey. I hope people had some powerful takeaways today. People, our listeners, just make sure you are subscribing, liking, and I would be very, very happy to hear your feedback. Just because I feel like this is a super relatable conversation, right? Just kind of understanding that there are aspects of life that we don't understand or see, but we have some say so in that. And even if it's not just your message specifically, there's probably somebody else's life that you can see that's connecting to. So do me a favor and share this episode. Thank you so much for listening. And we are going to head out. But again, subscribe, like, comment, and share. Have a good one.